William James Willem Dafoe is an American actor. He is known for his distinct gravelly voice and has received multiple accolades, including nominations for 4 Academy Awards and 3 Golden Globe Awards. He has frequently collaborated with filmmakers Paul Schrader, Abel Ferrara, Lars von Trier, and Wes Anderson.
Dafoe was an early member of experimental theatre company the Wooster Group, where he acted in several productions. He made his film debut in Heaven's Gate, but was fired during production. He had his first leading role in the outlawed biker film The Loveless and then played the main antagonist in Streets of Fire and To Live and Die in LA. He received his first Academy Award nomination for his role as Sergeant Elias Gordon in Oliver Stone's war film Platoon. In 1988, Dafoe played Jesus in Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ and starred in Mississippi Burning, both of which were controversial. Following small roles in Born on the 4th of July and Wild at Heart, he began a 6-film collaboration with director Paul Schrader with the drama Light Sleeper. He starred in the critically panned erotic thriller Body of Evidence and then co-starred in Clear and Present Danger, The English Patient, Speed 2, Cruise Control, and The Boondock Saints.
After receiving his second Academy Award nomination for portraying Max Schreck in Shadow of the Vampire, Dafoe played Norman Osborn in the superhero film Spider-Man and the villains in Once Upon a Time in Mexico and Triple X, State of the Union, and Dafoe also played as Carson Clay in the film Edgar Bean's Holiday. In 2009, he starred in the experimental film Antichrist, one of his 3 films with Lars von Trier. Dafoe then appeared in The Fault in Our Stars, John Wick, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Great Wall, Murder on the Orient Express, and The Florida Project, receiving his 3rd Academy Award nomination for his performance in the latter. He has also had voiceover roles in Finding Nemo and its sequel Finding Dory, Fantastic Mr. Fox, John Carter, and Death Note, as well as the video games Spider-Man, Finding Nemo, James Bond 007, Everything or Nothing, and Beyond, Two Souls.
Dafoe has portrayed several real-life figures, including T.S. Eliot in Tom and Viv, Pier Paolo Pasolini in Pasolini, Vincent van Gogh at Eternity's Gate, for which he received an Academy Award for Best Actor nomination, his first in that category, and Leonhard Seppala in Togo.
William James Dafoe was born in Appleton, Wisconsin. One of 8 children of Muriel Isabel and Dr. William Alfred Dafoe, he recalled in 2009, "My 5 sisters raised me because my father was a surgeon, my mother was a nurse and they worked together, so I didn't see either of them much." His brother, Donald Dafoe, is a transplant surgeon and researcher. He has English, French, German, Irish, and Scottish ancestry. His surname is of French origin. In high school, he acquired the nickname Willem, which is the Dutch version of the name William. During an interview, he explained that about half of the Dafoe family puts the emphasis on the first syllable of their surname, and the other half on the second. Only after becoming an actor, he took the second interpretation as his stage name.
Dafoe studied drama at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, but left after a year and a half to join the experimental theatre company Theatre X in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, before moving to New York in 1976. There he apprenticed under Richard Schechner, director of the avant-garde theatre troupe The Performance Group, where he met and became romantically involved with Elizabeth Lecomte. She, with her former romantic partner Spalding Gray and others, edged out Schechner and created the Wooster Group. Within a year, Dafoe was part of the company. Dafoe would continue with the Wooster Group into the 2000s.
Dafoe began his film career in 1979, when he was cast in a supporting role in Michael Cimino's epic Western film Heaven's Gate. Dafoe was only present for the first 3 months of an 8-month shoot. His role, that of a cockfighter who works for Jeff Bridges' character, was removed from a majority of the film during editing but was visible during a cockfight scene. Dafoe did not receive a credit for his work on the film. In 1982, Dafoe starred as the leader of an outlaw motorcycle club in the drama The Loveless, his first role as a leading man. The film was co-directed by Catherine Bigelow and Monty Montgomery and paid homage to 1953 film The Wild One, starring Marlon Brando in a similar role.
Following a brief appearance in the horror film The Hunger, Dafoe again played the lead of a biker gang in Walter Hill's 1984 action film Streets of Fire. His character in the film served as the main antagonist, who captures the ex-girlfriend of a mercenary, played by Diane Lane and Michael Pear, respectively. Janet Maslin of the New York Times felt there were no great performances in the film, but praised Dafoe's perfectly villainous face. Dafoe starred alongside Judge Reinhold in Roadhouse 66 as a pair of yuppies who become stranded in a town on US Route 66. Later in 1985, Dafoe starred with William Peterson and John Pankow in William Friedkin's thriller To Live and Die in LA, in which Dafoe portrays a counterfeiter named Rick Masters who is being tracked by two Secret Service agents. Film critic Roger Ebert commended his strong performance in the film.
Dafoe's sole film release of 1986 was Oliver Stone's Vietnam War film Platoon, gaining him his widest exposure up to that point for playing the compassionate Sergeant Elias Gordon. He enjoyed the opportunity to play a heroic role and said the film gave him a chance to display his versatility, saying, "I think all characters live in you. You just frame them, give them circumstances, and that character will happen." Principal photography for the film took place in the Philippines and required Dafoe to undergo boot camp training. Los Angeles Times writer Sheila Benson praised his performance and found it to be particularly fine to see Dafoe play something other than his psychopath. At the 59th Academy Awards, Dafoe was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, but the statuette was awarded to Michael Caine at the ceremony. Dafoe provided his voice to the documentary Dear America, Letters Home from Vietnam, and, in 1988, Dafoe starred in another film set during the Vietnam War, this time as Criminal Investigation Command Agent Buck McGriff in the action thriller Off Limits. His second release of 1988 was Martin Scorsese's epic drama The Last Temptation of Christ, in which Dafoe portrayed Jesus. The film was adapted from the novel of the same name and depicts his struggle with various forms of temptation throughout his life. Like the novel, the film attracted controversy for departing from the biblical portrayal of Jesus and was branded as being blasphemous. Dafoe's performance in the film was widely praised, however, with Janet Maslin opining that Dafoe brought a gleaming intensity to the role.
In his final release of 1988, Dafoe starred opposite Gene Hackman in the crime thriller Mississippi Burning as a pair of FBI agents investigating the disappearance of 3 civil rights workers in fictional Jessup County, Mississippi during the Civil Rights Movement. Variety magazine praised Dafoe's performance, writing, "Dafoe gives a disciplined and noteworthy portrayal of Ward, although they felt it was Hackman who steals the picture." As with The Last Temptation of Christ, the film became embroiled in controversy, this time by African-American activists who criticized its fictionalization of events. Dafoe was briefly considered for the role of the supervillain the Joker in the Tim Burton-directed superhero film Batman, as screenwriter Sam Hamm noticed physical similarities, but was never offered the part that eventually went to Jack Nicholson. Dafoe starred in the drama Triumph of the Spirit in 1989 as Jewish Greek boxer Salamo Arouch, an Auschwitz concentration camp inmate who was forced to fight other internees to death for the Nazi officers' entertainment. It was filmed on location at Auschwitz, the first major film to do so. While the film was negatively received, Dafoe's performance was lauded by some critics. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone felt he gave a disciplined performance and Janet Maslin thought he was harrowingly good. Dafoe reunited with Platoon director Oliver Stone for a small appearance in the biographical war drama Born on the 4th of July. Dafoe played a paraplegic, wheelchair-bound Vietnam veteran who befriends the film's subject Ron Kovic, another paraplegic veteran.
Dafoe made a cameo appearance in John Waters' musical comedy Cry Baby as a prison guard who gives a brief lecture on values to the title character, who was played by Johnny Depp. Rita Kempley of The Washington Post found the scene to be one of the film's highlights. In the same year, Dafoe co-starred in David Lynch's crime film Wild at Heart with Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern. Dafoe played a criminal who engages in a robbery with Cage's character before demonstrating his dark side. He wore fake, corroded teeth and grew a pencil mustache that bore resemblance to his previous collaborator, John Waters. Entertainment Weekly critic Owen Gleiberman felt the role proved Dafoe as a master of leering, fish-faced villainy. In 1991, Dafoe starred with Danny Glover and Brad Johnson in the action film Flight of the Intruder. The film follows a pair of United States Navy pilots, played by Dafoe and Johnson, who scheme and participate in an unauthorized airstrike on Hanoi. Directed by John Milius, the film received negative reviews. He was due to star opposite Joan Cusack in the comedy Arrive Alive in 1991, but the film was canceled during production. Dafoe had 2 lead roles in 1992. The first to be released, White Sands, saw Dafoe play small-town sheriff who impersonates a dead man after finding his dead body and a suitcase containing $500,000 in order to solve the case, resulting in an FBI investigation. In his next starring role, Paul Schrader's drama Light Sleeper, Dafoe played John Ledor, the lonely, insomniac New Yorker working as a delivery man for a drug supplier, who was played by Susan Sarandon. Roger Ebert praised Dafoe's gifted portrayal of Ledor, and Owen Gleiberman opined that even when the film doesn't gel, one is held by Willem Dafoe's grimly compelling performance.
Dafoe next starred in the erotic thriller Body of Evidence with Madonna. The story concerns a lawyer, played by Dafoe, who engages in a sadomasochistic sexual relationship with the woman he is representing in a murder case. The film was panned by critics and performed poorly at the box office, with some audience members laughing during the sex scenes. In his review of the film, Vincent Canby felt that Dafoe lacked sensuality in the role. Later in 1993, Dafoe appeared in a supporting role as Emmett Flesty in the German fantasy film Far Away, So Close, directed by Wim Wenders. Dafoe then co-starred in the spy thriller Clear and Present Danger, an adaptation of the Tom Clancy novel of the name starring Harrison Ford as CIA operative Jack Ryan. Dafoe played John Clark, a CIA agent conducting a covert operation against a drug cartel in Colombia with Jack Ryan. Dafoe portrayed the poet T.S. Eliot in the drama Tom and Viv, which tells the story of Eliot and his first wife, Vivienne Haywood Eliot, who was played by Miranda Richardson. The film was met with a mixed reception from critics, although Karen James of the New York Times felt that Dafoe's stunningly sharp, sympathetic portrait raises the film above a script that is full of serious holes and stilted dialogue. In 1995, he played an 18th-century writer in the period drama The Night and the Moment.
In his first of 3 film appearances in 1996, Dafoe made a cameo appearance as an electrician in the biographical drama Basquiat. Next, he played a Canadian intelligence corps operative in the romantic war drama The English Patient, which starred Ralph Fiennes as desert explorer Count Laszlo Almacid. The English Patient was filmed in Tuscany, where Dafoe said he particularly enjoyed the quiet moments in the monastery between shoots. In the period drama Victory, which was filmed in 1994 and premiered in Europe in 1996, but was released until 1998, Dafoe played a European exile living on an island in the Southeast Asia who becomes the target of redemption after preventing a woman, played Irena Jacob, from being raped. In 1997, Dafoe returned to playing a villainous role in the action thriller Speed 2, Cruise Control, expressing the necessity of appearing in both independent and blockbuster films. The film starred Sandra Bullock and Jason Patric as a couple vacationing on a luxury cruise that has been hijacked by Dafoe's character, Geiger, a hacker that has programmed the ship to crash into an oil tanker. Speed 2 was met with overwhelmingly negative reviews from critics, with Dafoe himself receiving a Razzie Award nomination for Worst Supporting Actor. For his next film, Affliction, Dafoe worked with Paul Schrader for second time, playing the brother of Nick Nolte's character and served as the film's narrator. Also in 1997, Dafoe took on a voice acting role in an episode of the animated sitcom The Simpsons titled The Secret War of Lisa Simpson, voicing the commandant of a military academy that Bart and Lisa Simpson are attending. Following a villainous supporting role in the romantic mystery drama Lulu on the Bridge, Dafoe starred alongside Christopher Walken and Asia Argento in Abel Ferrara's cyberpunk drama New Rose Hotel in 1998. It follows X and Fox, a pair of corporate raiders attempting to lure a Japanese scientist from one megacorporation to another. Although the film was largely dismissed by critics, critic David Stratton found there to be compensation in the performances.
In 1999, Dafoe gave a supporting performance in David Cronenberg's Existence, a science fiction thriller in which he played a gas station owner named Gas. Later in the year, Dafoe starred in the action film The Boondock Saints. He played an eccentric, gay FBI agent assigned with investigating a series of murders committed by the McManus brothers, 2 twins who are acting as vigilantes in Boston, Massachusetts after an act of self-defense. The Boondock Saints was negatively received by film critics, largely for its extreme violence and lack of emotional depth, though some critics praised Dafoe's role in the film. The film performed poorly at the box office, but has since been branded as being a cult film.
In his first film of the 2000s, Dafoe was featured in a supporting in American Psycho as a private investigator investigating the disappearance of a co-worker of Patrick Bateman, an investment banker who leads a double life as a serial killer. His next film of 2000, Steve Buscemi's crime drama Animal Factory, starred as Dafoe, an incarcerated veteran conman who takes a young inmate under his wing and introduces him to his gang. The film was positively received by critics, and Elvis Mitchell of the New York Times wrote that Dafoe steals the picture with his comic timing. Shadow of the Vampire, his final film of the year, saw him portray a fictionalized version of the German actor Max Schreck during the production of the 1922 horror film Nosferatu, in which Schreck starred as the vampire Count Orlok. Dafoe's co-star John Malkovich portrayed the film's director, F. W. Murnau. The film delves into fiction when, over the course of Nosferatu's production, the cast and crew come to discover that Schreck is actually a vampire himself. Much of the film's critical praise went to Dafoe. Roger Ebert wrote that Dafoe embodies the Schreck of Nosferatu so uncannily that when real scenes from the silent classic are slipped into the frame, we don't notice a difference. The Chicago Reader critic Jonathan Rosenbaum opined felt the film's only redeeming quality was Dafoe's enjoyably over-the-top, eye-rolling performance. Dafoe received numerous awards and nominations for his performance, including his second Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor nomination.
Dafoe took on 2 leading roles in 2001, both of which were as priests. In the drama Pavilion of Women, he played an American priest living in China who falls in love with a local married woman while giving her son a Western education. He then starred opposite Haley Joel Osment in Edges of the Lord, playing a compassionate priest helping a young Jewish boy pose as a Catholic to protect him during Nazi Germany's occupation of Poland. Dafoe played the supervillain the Green Goblin in Sam Raimi's 2002 superhero film Spider-Man, starring Tobey Maguire as the titular Marvel Comics superhero. Dafoe played the Norman Osborn incarnation of the Green Goblin, the billionaire founder and owner of the corporation Oscorp, becoming the Green Goblin after testing an unstable strength enhancer on himself, turning him insane and making him extremely powerful. Osborn is a family friend of Spider-Man's secret identity. Peter Parker as Osborn's son, Harry Osborn, is a close friend of Parker. The role required Dafoe to wear an uncomfortable costume and mask that made it impossible to emote using his face, confining Dafoe to convey emotion through his voice and head movements. Dafoe's role in the film was generally well received, including a New York Daily News reviewer who felt he put the scare in arch-villain, and Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian who deemed him strong support. Conversely, Critica O. Scott wrote that his performance was uninspired and second-hand.
Later in 2002, Dafoe starred with Greg Kinnear in Paul Schrader's biographical film Autofocus, Dafoe's third collaboration with Schrader. Dafoe portrayed John Henry Carpenter, an electronics expert who develops a strange friendship with the actor Bob Crane, leading Crane into a downward spiral. Dafoe provided his voice to the computer-animated Pixar film Finding Nemo in 2003. Dafoe voiced Gil, a miracle fish who helps Nemo, a clownfish, in his struggle to find his parents. In the same year, Dafoe appeared in a small but pivotal role as a drug cartel kingpin planning a coup d'etat against the president of Mexico in Robert Rodriguez's action film Once Upon a Time in Mexico. The murder mystery The Reckoning was Dafoe's final film of 2003, in which he starred with Paul Bettany. The film takes place during the Middle Ages and saw Dafoe play the leader of acting troupe that recreate the events surrounding a woman accused of witchcraft and murder, who they believe is innocent. Dafoe lent his voice and likeness to the James Bond video game James Bond 007, Everything or Nothing as the villain Nikolai Diavolo.
The following year, Dafoe took on another villainous role in The Clearing, albeit with a more sympathetic approach. Dafoe co-starred as a man who kidnaps his former boss in exchange for a ransom. The film received mixed reviews, although Peter Travers felt that he added a note of vulnerability to the menace he has made his stock in trade. Dafoe reprised his role as Norman Osborn in Spider-Man 2, appearing to his son Harry in an hallucination. The cameo was suggested by Dafoe, comparing it to the ghost of Hamlet's father visiting his son to ask him to avenge his death. Dafoe was next seen in the comedy drama The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, his first of 3 films with director Wes Anderson. He played the hilariously doltish German first mate of a research vessel owned by the eponymous lead character, who is played by Bill Murray. Dafoe then had a small role as a tabloid magazine editor in Martin Scorsese's The Aviator, a biographical film about Howard Hughes starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Also in 2004, Dafoe narrated the documentary Final Cut, The Making and Unmaking of Heaven's Gate, chronicling the production of Heaven's Gate and co-starred as a neuropharmacologist in the direct-to-video thriller Control alongside Ray Liotta and Michelle Rodriguez. Dafoe co-starred in XXX, State of the Union, an action film sequel starring Ice Cube in which Dafoe played a U.S. Secretary of Defense attempting a coup d'etat against the President of the United States. It was largely panned by critics, although Dafoe stated he did not regret appearing in the film.
With the avant-garde drama Mandalay in 2005, Dafoe began another actor-director collaboration, this time with Danish filmmaker Lars von Trier. Dafoe co-starred in the film as the father of Bryce Dallas Howard's character, a woman who discovers a plantation still thriving as if slavery had never been abolished. Along with his wife Gianna Cologrande, Dafoe co-wrote and starred in Before It Had a Name, which Cologrande directed. Dafoe played the caretaker of a house that is inherited by the lover of its deceased owner, engaging in a sexual relationship with her. The film was excoriated by a Variety reviewer as a wannabe haunted house tale laced with silly sex scenes and an embarrassment. His fourth and final film appearance of 2005 was the crime thriller Ripley Underground, in which he played a museum curator. Dafoe had a supporting role in Spike Lee's 2006 crime thriller Inside Man, playing a veteran captain of the NYPD Emergency Services Unit helping with a hostage negotiation during a bank heist on Wall Street. Dafoe co-starred as the White House Chief of Staff in American Dreams, a comedy satirizing both popular entertainment and American politics. His character was described as a diminutive version of Dick Cheney, with wire-rimmed glasses and a fringe of white hair by the Times writer Karen James. He starred with Juliette Binoche in a short film directed by Nobuhiro Suwa as part of the 2006 anthology film Paris, J10.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.